As hospital beds filled up with wounded children, doctors made an urgent appeal for blood, and ambulances continued to ferry in more young victims. Distraught family members waited for news of their loved ones, combing through lists of the wounded.
There is perhaps no more chaotic nation chock full of more internal turmoil right now than Pakistan, where many believe if a global conflagration should begin, that would be the flashpoint. A nation that harbors and helps child killers, grants bail to masterminds of terror attacks, and is now paying the price for their arrogance. But in the end, can it all be a positive thing for America and the world? He is an award-winning investigative reporter, multiple author, executive director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism, and a noted pundit on national security and Islamic extremism. Stephen Emerson joins us today. Steve, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be with you.
Steve, we have to look at what might be positives out of it, and I know it's difficult when we think about the bodies of over 100 children in a school here. But is it just possible that the Taliban may have overplayed their hand here and that may actually have infuriated the very people that helped them hide and helped them deal their terror around the world, and that could help everybody down the road?
Now, even more so, the Pakistani military helped create the Taliban. Now, you're 100% right. This may have pushed them over the edge to the extent that this will now unify all the factions in Pakistan military and the intelligence services to overwhelmingly crack down on the Taliban, not just sporadically and erratically, because as you know, there have been splits within the Pakistani intelligence services, some of which have been still sympathetic and supportive of the Taliban. At this point, this horrific massacre, it's really just beyond the pale, may really unify the services and the intelligence and military services in dramatically revising their strategy in terms of totally clamping down and destroying the Taliban in Pakistan, from which it operates, in attacking Afghanistan targets, and now, of course, Pakistani targets.
Is the biggest thing here, possibly, is being too optimistic? Because we're sitting here talking about a positive here. But if we're too optimistic, we have to remember that in Pakistan, the families are tight, the religion is tight, the ideology is tight. It's gone down for decades here. Centuries, if you will. So what leads us to believe that just this, even though it is a heinous crime, would actually break with all of those generations, those years, and force Pakistan to actually now go after the Taliban, which in many cases would mean going after family and friends?
Well, at this point, the Taliban, first of all, there's a lot of sectarian differences, and there's a lot of tribal conflict. And that tribal conflict and the tribal differences can sometimes supersede the whole commonalities of ideology and hatred toward the West or support for the Taliban. And number two, remember the Taliban attacked the children of the military, and that would include military intelligence of the Pakistani government. That would certainly unify the Pakistani, would seem to unify, as you correctly point out. There's a long history opposite in contrary to this logic, but that would seem to unify them in their opposition. We can only hope that that it actually initiates a new strategy which is comprehensive, sustained, irrevocable, and does not let up, because in the past we have seen episodic efforts to wipe out or hit the Taliban, but it's been episodic, and we know that ISI has been partially supportive of the Taliban. There's been safe haven in Pakistan.
Well, let me get right to that there then. If you think about the ISI then being involved with the Taliban, are they then smart enough and driven enough to actually get involved and do something now? Because, look, we've been asking this question for a long time here, and they don't seem as if they care about doing anything to this point.
Well, you know, you're right, but, you know, remember the axiom, you know, all politics is local. And the fact is they've hit home now in a way that the attacks in the past year at the Karachi airport, or the attacks on Christians in Pakistan, or the other bombings didn't have any impact whatsoever. I mean, as you know, the resentment against the U.S. for killing bin Laden in Abbottabad still has not gone over, it still has not gone down. But this here attack really may be something that the Taliban overextended their hand. Now, look, again, you're 100% right, because this is based on logic.
Why would they do that, Steve? Why would they then overplay their hand at this point? Are they desperate for some reason?
Well, first of all, you should know that the Pakistani military has been engaged in bombing. This is it really hasn't been played up in the West, but for the past 9 months, the Pakistani military, which is different than the Pakistani ISI, their intelligence services, Pakistani military has been engaged in strategic bombing of Taliban camps and Taliban concentrations within Pakistan itself. This is something that has been not really widely reported, but extraordinary and unprecedented within the past year over the history of Pakistan's relationship with the Taliban that, as you know, goes back 25 years. So the reality is there already is a precedent for the Pakistani military to crack down. The only question is whether it's going to be comprehensive, whether they're going to get the support of the ISI, and whether, in fact, it's going to be effective, because so far it really has not been that effective.
So let me do this then, with about a minute or so that I have left here. How does America then take advantage of this? What should our intelligence sources and our intelligence people be doing right now to take this crack and turn it into something we can use to our advantage?
Well, at this point, there's an opportunity for the United States to join, to get involved strategically and militarily, and collaborate with the Pakistani military, and like they have done in the collaboration with Arab forces in attacking ISIS, but now do the same coalition, at least with the Pakistan military, in attacking the Taliban, not just by drones, but actual strategically strikes by jet fighters and bombers in Pakistan against the Taliban camps. We can do that now because we've been opposed by the Pakistani government up until now. Now I think we can get in and do it with them. 15
seconds. American boots on the ground in Pakistan in coordination with the Pakistan military?
Covert American boots, not overtly. These would be intelligence people guiding the Pakistan military. It would not be known. They're not going to countenance that at this point. I don't think we need to have that right now.
Right now is, of course, the case, and we'll wait and see if they can actually get the job done, the Pakistanis, that is, on their own. Steve Emerson, pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much. If we don't talk, a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, and same to you.
All right, take care. We're back after a short break with some reality about energy and the world climate.